Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm so excited to be back with you for another episode of Monday Huddle with Dr. Dawn Hamby of Dr. Dawn ShopTalk. Good afternoon, Dr. Hamby. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Michelle. How are you on this Monday?
I am good. I am a little bit hunkered down here in Central Arkansas, getting ready for the rain. It looks like we're going to have a lot of that.
Absolutely. It looks that way too here in Little Rock.
But it doesn't keep us from doing our Monday huddles. I'm thankful for technology, and I'm thankful that we can all still do what we need to do and prepare for all those interviews. Those of us who might be looking for a new opportunity, you have put together a 3-part series to get job hunters, job seekers, just best prepared. So I'm very excited to be here for part 1 with you today.
This is such a current topic, isn't it, Michelle? You and I have talked about that. We know that through ShopTalk, we offer a lot of career coaching. We offer a lot of recommendations on resumes and interviewing tips. And so in these uncertain times, I could not think of a better topic, right? Because even if people are blessed enough to be able to have kept their job through all of this, their jobs might be changing. So they might need to kind of think about their skill set and maybe doing something different at their jobs in case they're asked to. So very excited to be able to bring this 3-part series to our audience today, and starting with the first part of our series, because there's quite a bit you can do before the interview, and we want people to think about that. Also, I wanted to let our audience know that we're going to talk about 3 tips today, but all the tips that I share are kind of like the tip of the iceberg, pun intended on that, right? Because, we don't want to make it a 2-hour show. We want to give you a little hint of, the different services that are out there if you're interested in partnering with either one of us. And so what we're going to talk about today is something that I would get much more in depth with career coaching. So there I would, share all the tips to help someone get ready for that interview, and also just really prepare them for the day of the interview and then those next steps. So I know, Michelle, we'll be talking about in the next couple of episodes as well.
Yes, absolutely. And you have an entire program, which we can circle back to this at the end of today's show, and that is the Career Confidence Boot Camp, because the interviewing is just part of it. And we do want to definitely get into those 3 tips today, but for everyone watching, we will circle back to that and let you know what all is included in that Career Confidence Boot Camp. So with that said, part 1 of this 3-part series. So Dawn, what are those 3 tips that we all need to be doing and be aware of before we walk into that interview and shake that hand or do that elbow bump, as it may be now?
Exactly, an elbow bump, a virtual whatever it may be. Well, there's 3 exciting tips. These are my 3 sort of go-to tips that I recommend that people really think about. The very first one is to make sure that you are prepped 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. You guys, the last thing you want to do is to feel stressed out. And you guys know that I am a big believer in being prepared. So some of the things you can do way before the interview is to make sure, for example, that your resume is up to date and current. Many of us have not been on a job interview in a long time. And of course, now job interviews are not only being done in person with interview teams, but because of COVID-19, a lot of our interviews are being done virtually. So we'll actually get into that a little bit later. But the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your resume is current and up to date. Not only that, but you want to make sure your resume is really catered to the actual job position that you're interested in. Now, let's say you're not applying for a new job. Let's say, though, that your job is going to change at your organization. Then again, you still might want to update the resume because you want to make sure that you're bringing up and showcasing the skill set the organization really needs as we all transition back to work. So that is definitely my first recommendation. Now, of course, we offer a resume reboot with ShopTalk, but whether you use our services or you use another service or just kind of tweak this on your own, you've got to make sure that your resume is not just current, but it's really showcasing the talents you can bring to the table. And one of my favorite tips on how to figure out what is that skill set that you really need for that job is go back to where the job was advertised. Take a look at the job posting. The job posting is a wonderful, secret map of where the organization wants to go, because they're going to be very specific with the skills they're looking for that particular job. So read that thoroughly and make sure your resume, make sure any other materials that you want to send the interview team, you would either send that as an email attachment if it's a virtual interview, or make sure you have enough copies. If you are doing a face-to-face interview, then make sure that you've got time to make copies, right? So you want to make sure you know how many members of the interview team they're going to be. Typically, you can call human resources and they'll let you know. It's not a secret if there's going to be 3 or 5 people. So they'll typically let you know, and you can make sure you have enough copies of your resume. Or let's say you had some wonderful letters of recommendation that you wanted to share. And perhaps the job application that you filled out, which many times is now also being done online, you may not have had an opportunity to upload those recommendations. Often they just want a list of professional recommendations, and keep that in mind as well. You may have a wonderful personal recommendation, but typically they allow 1 personal and 2 professional recommendations. So even though you may have provided that phone number and the name to HR for that job, you may also want to bring copies of a letter of recommendation. So all that to say, you want to make sure you have plenty of time to tweak all that, make sure it's current, send that to the interview team or to HR, or if you're lucky enough to get a face-to-face, you want to make sure you've got extra copies and get those printed again way ahead of time.
Absolutely. And by taking those steps to do all that 1 to 2 days ahead of time, if you do run into anything, a little glitch, or, your printer cartridge runs out, or internet isn't working properly, or any life things that happen, you've given yourself a little time to adjust. So absolutely be prepared. That leads us to number 2.
Yes.
Speaking of internet connection, you and I have had that happen before right here on this show, and I'm sure many others have as well. And sometimes it can just be a fluke. You've been using the same thing for weeks, and then all of a sudden there's an issue. So it's not very wise to show up 5 minutes before the virtual interview and not have checked, right?
Absolutely. Hence the reason we're both wearing headphones. If Michelle and I were not so OCD about touching base and connecting before the show, we wouldn't have known that we had problems with audio today. But yes, we have a very popular episode for when everything went wrong. But you guys, that's so important. Okay. That is my second tip. You want to definitely check everything about your computer connections, about the program you're using if you're going to be interviewed virtually, and then also the venue if you get a face-to-face. So let me start with the connections. Okay. I recommend to my coaching clients that if they're going to do a virtual interview, which again, very popular today and oftentimes very necessary, you want to make sure that your speaker and audio is working well. You want to make sure that the lighting in your room also is good so that the interview team can kind of see you and get that sense of your personality and your fit for the organization. So if the lighting is really dark, or if you're filming from way down below, right, you want to kind of put your best foot forward. So get a family member, get a friend to practice with you virtually, because that's also going to help increase your confidence, right, Michelle? I mean,
absolutely.
If you're more comfortable, it's going to just really kind of ooze through your skin as you are interviewed, right? So people can kind of pick up on that. And interview teams typically are kind of sensing if you're not only qualified, but if personality-wise, you're just a good fit. And people can really relate to someone who even if technology goes awry, they're really impressed that you triple checked everything way before. I've mentioned in previous episodes, I've had the privilege to not only serve on many interview teams, but I've conducted many interviews and have hired some amazing people all these years. And one of the things I do look for is how they kind of come across. Do they seem really frazzled and nervous? And I'm going to give them a break on the day of the interview. But if they are calling me 5 minutes before, trying to get a hold of somebody in the office because they didn't check that link, then, that's not going to look good. I also recommend that not only do you practice 24 to 48 hours ahead of time, but you guys, as Michelle pointed out, not too long ago, we had an episode where I didn't know until 6 o'clock that morning that my internet was down. And my husband and I were one of a couple of thousand people that were without their internet for a couple of hours on that day. So had I not double checked, again, another hour or two before, and in that time, Michelle, we were airing at 7.
Right.
So I had already gotten completely dressed. I was ready to go at 6 a.m. I'm checking, and I needed all of that 45 minutes to an hour to see if we can make that work that day.
Absolutely.
So I really recommend that you check that ahead of time and then the day of, because if I am the person interviewing you and your interview is for 8 o'clock that morning, and you're calling and leaving messages as early as 6:30 or 7, I'm going to be really impressed. And I'm going to just feel like, oh my gosh, I've been there. That's so great that they gave us plenty of notice, because we might even be able to reschedule. So just think about that. Now, the second part, we are having, some companies that are comfortable, as long as they're following those health guidelines, with interviewing folks in person. So if you are still getting an interview in person, here's a couple of recommendations. Don't just rely on your GPS on your phone. Yes, drive over to where the interview is taking place. Go ahead and do that. But you guys, for example, with my job with Commerce, we recently moved just a couple of months ago, and I conducted interviews right before we shut down. And I must have had 15 or 20 people all showing up at the wrong address.
Wow.
Now, we had told people over the phone, we recently moved, and we gave them a recommendation of what address to put in there so they could find our new building. And we did have people still showing up at the old location, but it made an impression on me and the team when we had one candidate, for example, when we called to make sure they knew where to go, she had already driven to our location a day or two before. That made a great impression on the interview team. So always make sure the GPS is taking you to the right location. And for my career coaching clients, Michelle, I actually recommend they take it a step or two further. For example, at our building, the visitor parking is really well marked. But I've been to other buildings where it's not easy to find where visitor parking is,
Right.
Or they may not actually have a separate designated section for visitor parking. How are you going to feel when you go for an interview and then you end up with a ticket on your car, or your car is towed? So you want to know where to park.
Right.
Another recommendation I make for my clients is go ahead and go inside. And let me tell you why. You may know the building, you may know where to park, but you're not necessarily going to know where the interview is taking place. And I've had the experience of setting up interviews, and I have let the front desk know. But I've had colleagues where they're in such a rush because they've just had one of those weeks we've all had, and they have forgotten to either tell security or the front desk that interviews are scheduled on that particular day. If you walk in and you introduce yourself to the folks at the front desk, which again could be security or it could be the front desk personnel, they are not only going to appreciate that, because again, what if they weren't told? They've got time now, because you showed up a day or two beforehand. They've got time to make sure they do know where to tell people. And if they were aware of the interview, they can go ahead and tell you exactly what the procedure would be. What if the procedure is that you just wait in the lobby and somebody from the office comes down and gets you? Well, then great. You don't have to worry about finding the room. But if they do allow you to go up to the room, then they can go ahead and tell you themselves where to find that location. So again, guys, if you take care of that, you're going to feel much more confident and comfortable and less stressed out on your big day.
Absolutely. Those are all wonderful tips. Before we get to number 3, I want to take a pause and share our comments, including one question. Amelia has joined and said, hello, ladies. Thank you for watching, Amelia. Tammy just joined. Tammy said that it's been a manic Monday. So we know about those, Tammy. Thank you for joining. And then we have a question from Bud. Is it Hassert? Bud says hi, or actually hello, and he wants to know, are the large over-the-ear earphones okay to use, or are they too distracting?
They are not distracting.
That's our earbuds.
Yes, that is a great question. I just got off a Zoom call not too long ago. In fact, we had at least 2 people with earbuds, one that had sort of, the wireless, and one that not only had the over the ear, there was one that had a microphone. Oh my goodness, that not only looks very professional, but it again shows that you're prepared. So no, in fact, I've done some research on interview etiquette for online interviews, and there is some question about whether that would be distracting, but typically it's not, especially if it's going to help the sound quality. If you've got the over-the-ear headphones, it may actually be, the type that would reduce the noise from the outside. I mean, we just had someone cutting down a tree over here, and it was so loud on this Zoom call I had earlier this morning that I kept hitting mute, mute, mute. So no, it's not distracting. I personally, if I was the hiring manager, would think, ooh, I love that that person's so high tech. So yeah, I don't think that would be an issue at all. The most important part is, would that help with the audio quality? And in many cases, it probably would. So they could hear you even better. And again, they would see you're prepared. Of course, Bud is always prepared. I know Bud personally, so I bet he would do a great job in any virtual interview he chose to be a part of.
Great question, Bud. And thank you.
Great question.
So that takes us to number 3, and this is a very, very crucial step, because the more you know about the company that you are interviewing with, the better you're going to be prepared and, again, have that level of confidence that you need. So tell us some more about that.
Absolutely. We believe in research, right, Michelle? You and I have talked about
That's exactly right.
But I can tell you, again, I've had the privilege of hiring folks over the years, and I've always been so impressed when they've taken the time to learn about the organization. And as a hiring manager, many times my very first question right out of the gate in an interview is to ask the job candidate, what do you already know about our organization, and what do you already know about the position? Well, I guess I've given my secret away. If anybody listening ends up applying for a job with me, be prepared for that question. And one of the reasons that's so valuable is because it's already going to tell me and the interview team how dedicated you really are in finding out everything you can about the organization, and also how dedicated you are in trying to learn as much as you can about the position. So definitely do your research. Another reason you want to do your research ahead of time is, let's say you're applying for a job at a big organization, or you're already hired by that organization and you're looking for a job promotion. There's some positions coming open and you really are excited to possibly serve in that position. So you're doing research on this big company, let's say. And if you find out that company is getting ready to go through an expansion, okay, or maybe even relocating, and perhaps they're going to expand into a larger city, and you've got a lot of experience in not only working in a metropolitan area, but you're the kind of person who does well in a fast-paced environment. If that's you, and you know that ahead of time, even if you're not asked this particular question in the interview, you could still circle it back to where you could mention that you not only do well in a fast-paced environment, but you thrive in it, that you do well with lots of different tasks. And that multitasking is something that you not only can do well in, but it won't affect the quality of your work. By knowing ahead of time that that company is going to expand, then you get a chance to showcase maybe a set of skills that may not have been asked of you during the actual interview. So another reason to do your research about the position itself and also about the company.
Absolutely. And when you do that, it just shows you set yourself apart. You set yourself up for showing that you have a legitimate interest in that organization. It also helps you to come up with questions because I don't want to jump ahead because folks to go to the website to look for all these great tips and more. But always have some questions prepared at the end of the interview to ask about the company or the organization. And so the more you do research and you're able to carry on a conversation, that does, of course, boost your confidence. We keep talking about confidence. And then it just helps you, frame up some questions for the end of the interview as well.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Let's see. We have Mark said, "Great job, ladies." Mark is always a big supporter.
Biggest cheerleader. Thank you, Mark.
And I have a friend and a former coworker, Ginger, joined us from Charleston, South Carolina. So,
wonderful.
Ginger, I know you have done a lot of these tips. You're in a hiring manager position, and I'm sure you can understand and agree with a lot of these. So thank you all so much for joining. We've had some great comments and a question today, so we love that. Well, Dawn, now that we've talked about these 3 tips, we mentioned at the top of the show that there's so much more that Dr. Dawn's Shop Talk offers, and not that we can cover it all right now, but we do want to mention again the Career Confidence Bootcamp and what all is included in that. I've seen just in my personal and professional social media exposure and different researches that I've done for various different reasons, there seems to be quite a few people out there right now who are looking to either update their resume or transfer some job skills, and who just may need just a little help kind of getting back into the market. Right. So tell us about Career Confidence Bootcamp. I know you've been very strategic about putting that together. So tell us a little bit more about that, and then I'll pop the website up there again too.
Sure. The Career Confidence Bootcamp is kind of a compilation of a couple of things. Because interviewing is such an integral part of either getting a new job or jumpstarting your career, I wanted to put together a special package for clients. Because with the Shop Talk business, if anyone needs my services, of course, they can reach out to me and I can customize something on an individual basis. It could be something as short as a one-hour session, or it could be a coaching package where I coach you individually for 1 month all the way up to 6 months. Again, very flexible on how that works out. But I wanted to put together a special package for folks that are, like I said, trying to jumpstart their careers or maybe pivot into another direction because their career right now is leading them in a different area. So as a result, I put together these 3 individual coaching sessions, which are the subject of our show today. So our 3-part series on what to do before, during, and after the interview, all 3 of those in-depth coaching sections are part of the package. So those individual sessions themselves are part of the package. I also throw in the resume reboot at a much discounted price because I'm bundling that for the client. So if you're interested in the Career Confidence Bootcamp, that's going to be on my website. You can reach out to me there too for a free consultation. The free consultation is part of any service. So if you're not sure if it's right for you, you just want to find out more information about either the packages or the individual career and life coaching options, then you can schedule a free consultation also right there on the website. You can send me an email. You can reach out to me on Facebook. because Shop Talk also has a Facebook page, of course, and we're on YouTube. So we do have a social media presence. We've been working hard the past couple months to try to do more and more of that. So again, the Career Confidence Bootcamp is a wonderful way to make sure you have an in-depth version of what we're covering today and in our next 2 episodes, along with the resume reboot. Now, on Shop Talk, like I said, it may just be that you want a professional opinion and you really only need maybe 45 minutes to an hour of my time. Then again, we can schedule that individually. It doesn't have to be part of that package. Another option we have is professional development and training that also can be done virtually. So let's say with your current job, you're in charge of putting together some sort of forum, maybe an upcoming meeting, and you'd like to have a guest speaker, then check out our website there too, guys, because there might be some topics on there that would be very relevant to your job. And so that would also be an option. And I could just be a speaker at your event, again, virtually. And then one day when we can meet in person, then definitely would love to do that for your organization live and in person.
Yes, wonderful summary. You offer so many things on an individual as well as a group basis. And I'll mention again, just because this is your tagline, but customizable training for today's world of work. I love that because the things that you just mentioned are completely customizable, including that the confidence boot camp. It's whatever that person needs. If the resume needs an overhaul, an absolute reboot, or if it needs tweaking, you are available and ready to customize whatever meets the needs of that specific individual or that specific organization. So y'all, I've got the website up there. Be sure and go check that out to see just all the different services that Dr. Hamby offers. Before we close, Catherine Tirado, is it Ryan?
Yes.
Is it pronounced Ryan?
It is.
You guys are amazing. Catherine, we appreciate your support. We try to bring good, relevant, educational content, but we definitely bring our personalities too, just to keep it fun and light, because that's just who we are.
Absolutely. And, Michelle, that reminds me of something that we kind of alluded to. One of the things I've noticed is, you and I have so much fun with these shows, right? And I think we kind of naturally can talk about things that are important to us and kind of showcase that. One thing that kind of just popped in my mind was an experience I had just about a week or 2 ago with one of my clients. And the comment she had made was, when she was trying to redo her resume, she didn't really know kind of how to showcase that, right? So sometimes we are not as good as we think we might be about bringing up things that would be very relevant to that job. So as a hiring manager, there's definitely things that I look for. There's verbiage I look for. So somebody could really be doing a great job in preparing that resume or getting ready for that interview. But sometimes having that one-on-one opportunity to talk to someone, kind of like how an outsider can see things you can't always see, right? So just like family can sometimes see things that are so great about you that maybe you didn't even think about, or, oh gosh, I guess I should have said that in the interview, right? That's what I absolutely love about the coaching model of Shop Talk. I love public speaking and I love doing presentations, but it is really special to work with someone one-on-one and be able to kind of show them some things that maybe they just don't see about themselves. Because we can all just get so bogged down with kind of being in the thick of it, right, Michelle, that we can't always see what others can see. So that's what's very exciting about customizable training, like you said, the tagline for the world of work. But it also has led me to life coaching as well, because if you're unhappy at work, it spills over into your personal life. If you're unhappy in your personal life, it spills over into your work. And then the flip side is true. If you're really passionate and excited, then it just really seems to affect both areas. So with Shop Talk, we do a lot of career coaching, but we also do life coaching for anybody who would need that.
Lots of great services. So with that, we will close today's show. I do want to end with the Dr. Dawn Shop Talk promo. We've not played that in a while on one of these shows, so I will end with that. But before we go into that, we want to say thank you again for tuning in to Monday Huddles. Thank you for sharing and for your engagement. We appreciate you. And we just ask that you continue to share Dr. Dawn's page, my page, with your friends and family as we will continue to bring relevant content. So anything else before we show them your promo, Dawn?
I think we covered it.
I think we did too. Let me tee that up, and everybody have a wonderful Monday afternoon. Let me find it here real quick. There it is.
Right.
All right. See y'all later.